You are listening to the Starter Girls podcast with Jennifer Loading. Whether you are starting a project, starting a business, starting a brand, or starting a movement, we are here to talk about it. And the Starter Girls show is brought to you by Walt Mills, photographer of Glad Models Agency. If you're in the Dallas or surrounding area and you're looking for a photographer, check out Walt Mills. You can learn more about him and his work at photosbywalt.com. And with that, we're going to get things started. Today is a great day to be brave. You might as well start now. You have the power to change your circumstances any day you decide. Let today be that day. Rise up, be amazing, be you, do you. All right, my friends, I'm super excited to welcome my new friend, Andrea Crum, to the Starter Girls show. Woo-hoo. So I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about her, and then we're going to get going here. So building her 25-year career from an intern to a member of an executive team, Andrea Crum knows firsthand how challenging being genuine in our leadership approach can be, all while juggling organizational expectations and a happy home life. It's the reason she founded Genuinely You Leadership and is launching the talk show Girl Talk on the Zonder TV network this fall on Roku and Amazon Fire. I'm excited about this. As part of her organization, she develops and encourages women who deal with similar struggles and successes to lead more genuinely. So welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
You are welcome. I am so excited to talk about what you have going on. This is so awesome.
Love being here with you.
Thank you. Thank you. We're going to have fun today.
Yes, we are.
So I want to kind of take it back here because
Sure.
I want to know how you and I have talked off camera, but my listeners are going to want to know this.
Yeah.
So I want to know how this came about for you. How did this Genuinely You leadership program come about?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So corporate, 25 years. Always thought I would be in corporate. Never expected to be an entrepreneur. And just through a series of events, found myself going, okay, what's next? And really trying to figure out how I had ended up where I was at, and really came to the conclusion that I need to be really intentional about getting where I wanted to go, where my dream had always been. So I always thought I was going to retire at a certain age, and then when I retired that I would go do what I really wanted to do, which was like women's leadership development and speaking and writing and all that in that personal leadership development space, mostly because I struggled a lot as a leader, and it was challenging, quite challenging for me, and I wanted to be able to help other women through that. And so I just got this mantra that I was going to start getting myself one step closer to that goal. And I really thought that would be in a corporate America HR type job, try to just transition a little bit. And through that journey, I discovered that actually, nope, it was time to go ahead and go on my own, become an entrepreneur, start my own business. And that's what I did almost a year ago.
That is so awesome. Now, because you said this just kind of, it all kind of developed. So when I always talk about these paths not being linear, like we sort of just kind of morph into these roles. So, did you grow up around entrepreneurs or no?
No.
No?
Okay. No, it's probably why it terrifies me. I have no idea. I mean, there's something about feeling safe under a corporate structure where you feel like there's somebody else ultimately responsible.
Right.
And so I think I always felt safe. And so this idea of being an entrepreneur and being kind of vulnerable out there on my own just never really even crossed my mind.
That's so interesting. I love it. So did you have like a defining moment, or did you just kind of feel like this just sort of little by little, just sort of, because sometimes I know, like, I say, for instance, like in this pandemic, we talked off camera and I told you a little bit about how I've been like morphing into this journey, and I started this, it's been years. I mean, it's really been years, but this exponential growth I had in the latter part, and it was almost like when we entered into this pandemic, it was like a turning point for me, like, hey, you got to evolve. You got to do something like right now because what you're doing is not working, And so there's been these great things that have birthed from that, because it allowed me to morph. And I know this is, for a lot of people. So do you feel like there was like a defining moment, or do you feel like it just sort of kind of evolved into this for you?
It's progressed, but there have been like big moments, I guess.
Gotcha.
So like the moment where I finally realized, like, wait, I'm supposed to start this new business and put myself out there. So that was number one, because that's the other thing, is putting yourself out there and imagining what that looks like. You kind of are used to being in this one known in this one area, and then to move out and do something different is a whole other experience. But then I was planning on doing a women's leadership program and launched that in April, and then the world shut down. Right. But then not long after that, my TV show Girl Talk came along, and the opportunity to do that, which I never would have even thought about had I still been doing my other program that I thought what was going to do. So it's been interesting to see that even through the pandemic, different opportunities have arisen, and just to say yes, even though it seems scary, or even though it seems like that's not what I was planning, but being flexible in that has been important.
I love that. And I think the thing that's kind of coming to mind with that is the resiliency, because oftentimes when, you get into these crisis situations, whether it's this pandemic or it's something else going in life, I feel like you have like two choices. You can either, buckle in and cave, or you can rise above and evolve.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I think that is what is so powerful, is when you can look at that situation and go, okay, this can't stay this way. What am I going to do? Hello.
Yes.
And you did that. So, which leads me to the next part. I want to talk about girl talk a little bit, and then we're going to backtrack a little bit, but I want to talk about that. So tell us a little bit about that show, what it's about, and what your message is with that.
Okay, awesome. It is, Girl Talk is GYRL. So girl, genuinely you, real life leadership. And what I did is I found 6 amazing guests for each episode, and it's 30 minutes long, and I interview them about their leadership journey. And we talk about the struggles, we talk about the successes, we talk about how they learned who they genuinely were. And a lot of times that process is about kind of finding, like, we forget who we are.
Right.
And then we have to rediscover it. And there's a pit a lot of times that we fall into in that process. And so we talk about all those things in the show. And it's just really 6 different amazing women whose journey is different. But I think like each one is almost like a leadership training course in itself, because there's so many insights from it. So that is first episode airs next week.
How exciting.
So yeah, very exciting.
So, and where do they find this show?
Oh my gosh, thanks for asking. They find it on, it's on Roku and Amazon Fire on the Zondra TV network. And then also, if they just want a quick path, they can go to AndreaCrum.com. So AndreaCrum.com. And find a link to it there.
I love it. I'm excited to check this out. So I saw kind of the little bit of the preview that you got out there going on. So very fun. And I can imagine, I don't know what all who all the guests are that are on this show, but I'm sure they're amazing. And I think the leadership, that's such a great area for talking about, which is going to lead us into talking a little bit about what your genuinely you leadership is, because you and I talked about this, that so much of being in that role as women is that we become so very task oriented in what we're doing. And so I want you to talk a little bit about what this genuinely you is and what you're doing with this, because I think this is really good. And you and I've talked about this. I love what you're doing. I want you to share this with my people.
I'm so glad. I think it was born out of my own experience, but it wasn't just born out of my own experience. It was seeing the experience that other women were living too. So many of the corporations that the organizations I've been involved in have all been women led. Pretty much. I've been very fortunate in that. And so I've led, coached, mentored many women and have had that unique experience to see them in different stages. And what I found was that there's a lot of similarity. And a lot of the similarity is that I almost think that, as women, with that maternal instinct, right? You think about how we take care of the home. You think about all the fact that we know everything that needs to happen. We're running that ship, right? And we have a great sense of responsibility for that. We take that same sense of responsibility many times into our work, right? And so we almost treat it in that same way, where no balls can drop, nothing. I have to be the one that is taking all the things on my shoulder, the level of responsibility, the tactics that need to get done, and really just lose myself in the process, right? Because it's just too demanding, it's too much, and we just kind of pile it on. And so I think that is so true for so many women. So we kind of lose ourselves in the leadership process. And so what I do with our organization is really helping women to understand their significance, their value, and their worth, which is not in their work, and understanding who they genuinely are, which when I talk about that really means bringing their strengths in balance. And that's one of the things you and I talked about offline too, which is that, sometimes we can lean too much into one strength, and we kind of lose who we really are, because we've kind of left something off the table that's really important about who we are. So being genuine is about bringing that back into balance, and then going through the process of figuring out how we can start letting go, loosening our grip on things, start taking care of ourselves, so that our work and our tasks and our responsibilities are not our only thing. and we can kind of get out of the pit that we've kind of gotten into with stress, overwhelm, and exhaustion. And so it's a process, really of helping women to just kind of get back on solid ground.
I love it. I love it. You said so many great things there. The taking care of yourself, which it's funny. I had this conversation today, right before I came in here. I was coaching a client, and it was so funny. I always love when I'm working with people and they have those aha moments where they figure something out. And sometimes it's something you've been talking about, and it's been said, but all of a sudden they're ready to receive and they pick up that. Yeah. And so I think there's so many great things that you said there. And one of the things that, I always say is I feel like self-care is not really negotiable. I feel like personal development is the foremost, most important thing that you can do for yourself every single day. And I almost and I know my exercise people, because I'm an avid exerciser, I'm a former marathon runner, and I always say that's important too. But I think personal development ranks above that, because I think when you're in the right headspace, everything flows. Your exercise programs are better, relationships are better, everything is better when that is first and foremost.
Absolutely, because and when you are taking care of yourself, then you can be a better leader. Because when you're stressed, overwhelmed, exhausted, when you're not taking care of yourself, you're easily irritated, you're more easily frustrated, or you're disengaging. I mean, there's all sorts of things that we do naturally when we're in those different states that don't allow us to lead very well. And so, we're better all the way around when we are taking care of ourselves. And I agree too with the personal development, because there's so much potential in each of us. Right? And we got to tap into that. Right. It's about getting better, but a better version of ourselves.
Agreed.
Right?
100%. You're just so cute. I love you.
I love you
Very
too.
Bubbly person. I love it. The energy. It's like so awesome. It's almost like you have this language you speak, and when people get it, they get it. It's like, I'm not talking to the wall right now,
exactly. Yes.
So I love that. So tell me, this is kind of I always like to ask this question, because you and I have been in great spaces where we've had incredible mentors, and I think mentors are so important in life. Super. And so who would you say has been some of your greatest influencers over the years?
Oh, I have worked with some amazing women. And I think that when I think about influences, it's women who are supporting women. And I think that is been the greatest example that I've seen. There's a woman here in Dallas, her name's Marsha Clark, and she talks about one of her philosophies is when a woman calls, you answer. And I don't always see that modeled. And I think I know even as a leader, I did not always model that. And so it's something that has been really important for me to be mindful of. And I think for all women, for us to be mindful of that when a woman calls, you answer, you figure out how to support her. I have another mentor, Zandra Evans, we're my TV show. It's with her network. And she says, shoulder up. And I didn't know what she meant by shoulder up. I just thought that was kind of like a confidence thing, like we kind of, shoulder up. Yeah. No, it means that you help women. You've been here. You get women, you push them off your shoulders and you lift them up to that next place. And I think that, when I think about the women influences in my life, those are the women who did that for me. Yeah, they didn't let me stay stagnant.
Yeah, I love that. And that is so true. I've had some really neat people that have come up on this show and that we've talked about that. And it's so interesting because I think in the society that we are, and like I said, you and I have been blessed that we've been in the space of great people. I've shared this with you off camera that where I've been, I've had mentors for the last 20 years. I don't know what it's like not to have those in my life. And so interestingly enough, when I hear people in corporate world outside talking about the politics and the things they're going through, I'm grateful every day that I've been almost shielded from that I haven't had to witness it. Although I don't even know that I'd have the patience.
You just probably walk away from it.
I'd be like, check out. I'm not doing this. We're not doing this anymore. So, but I think having them is so incredibly important. And I think what you said, I love that, the shoulder up, because if you're in a place, why would you not want to see someone else succeed? That's my theory. If you are doing well and you drag other people with you to do well, you all benefit. Everybody wins.
Everybody wins.
It's a great situation.
Yeah. And I think there's several things that happened with us women. One, we don't know our own significance. And so we are comparing and competing. Right? Instead of understanding our value. And when we understand our value, we can see more easily the significant value that other people bring. And we understand that we have a contribution and they have a contribution. And then we can start to see that. Otherwise, it's just that, again, that comparing and competing that happens. And then for me, I think the reason that I didn't recognize it for so long is I was just so busy in my lane.
Sure.
I was just so busy just doing my thing, getting things done, that I was just not looking around going, how can I help? You know?
Well, and I think we've all been there.
Right.
I mean, I think it's one of those things. I think the genuinely part that you're talking about is when you find yourself. It's when you recognize, and you said something else a minute ago, which to me, I'm thinking scarcity mindset is when you are in that place of comparing and you don't understand your significance. And it becomes, I think, that scarcity mindset of, now we're competing, and what do you have that I don't have, and do I want you around because now I feel threatened?
Right, exactly.
You know what I mean? And when you find yourself and you recognize that, you, like you said, you're bringing something to the table, somebody else has something else to offer.
Exactly.
That can benefit everybody. It's a win-win.
It's a
and
win-win.
so it is a great place when you get to that place and you no longer feel that competition. But I think, like you said, we've all been in that place, and it takes the growth. And I think that comes from doing the personal development and having incredible mentors that can help you get where you need to be.
Exactly. It all full circle, like it all comes back together. I know.
That's what I said. Then you're not talking to the wall anymore. You got the right people in your circle. And it's probably, I think too, goes, you know, is also important about selecting the right people that you put in your space, you know, and who you allow to have influence on you. Because, you know, I know the cliche, they always say you're like the 5 most people you hang around, and people are like, yeah, right. Well, you got to look at it.
Right. You really do.
You know, you really have to think about, you know, because if your people are at this level, you're going to be below that level.
Exactly.
So if you want to be at this level, you got to raise your bar up and find those people.
You got to have somebody who's ahead of you all the time.
Exactly.
I
love it.
Yes.
I love it. I'm so excited about your show.
Thank you.
Okay, so what, let's see here. What else do I want? Let's do this. This is a fun question because this is all about mindset and success. So when you are going after something, which you have because you had to morph from corporate into entrepreneurship, what does the mindset look like for you when you're like, tackling on some, because I know you're kind of task oriented like I am. So what does this look like for you?
Oh goodness. I will be honest and say, you know, with some of those big things that I've done, I've had to walk through a lot of fear. So that was about being intentional, and that was saying I'm going to do it anyways, you know, even though I'm afraid. And then, you know, and then once I get excited about something, you know, it's just, there's a lot of ideas that bubble up, and I start to just have kind of more of an excitement, you know, that just an energy level. And then I'm easily from there go into the, okay, what has to happen to make that thing happen? You know, so even, producing a TV show, well, I don't know, you know, but like had to start figuring it out and learning as I went. But then it was just like, okay, I can apply my project management skills to this new endeavor like I would anything else. So start checking it off.
There was a girl that came on here a while back. Her name was Georgia Green.
I know.
You know, Georgia, I love her. And something she said, this is why I always love having guests on the show. I pick up little tidbits of information, and I'm a story collector. Like I have stories. You know, I
like
did
a quilter, kind of like you're like.
I did a presentation a couple weeks ago, and it was so funny because as I'm going through the whole presentation, I'm like, I've got another story, and I've got another story because I talk to so many people. But she said something on the show, and don't hold me to every word on this, but the whole thing we were talking about is exploring. Somewhere along the line, we become afraid to try things because if we fail, we think that defines us. But if we look at it as we're just exploring, it opens it up, and there's no longer failure attached to that.
I like that.
And so that has kind of stuck with me.
Yeah.
And if you know her story, she went on this whole journey to tackle fear and stuff. And so, you know, that was one of the things that came up. And so it's interesting that when she said that is kind of the way, like I look at things kind of like you. I get excited. Once I'm excited, I'm like a fireball. I'm like, you're not stopping me. Don't try. You're not going to catch me. You know, and when I'm off of something, I'm off of it too. But one of the things that I've really, after, you know, not that I wasn't doing this already, but when she said that, she really put that in perspective of if we go in and we just take things and say, you know, we're just exploring. If we fail, it's okay. We're exploring. We're trying our options out. It just takes that stigma off, that pressure.
I think that's great. And I think even as I've entered entrepreneurship, I see how great that philosophy is, because I thought, this is what I'm doing, and it's gonna look like this. You know, even with my whole career, I thought this is what I'm doing, it's gonna look like this. And then to realize, nope, I've had to take a, you know, detour over here and a detour over here. And that doesn't mean that that's where everything's gonna end up. But the skills that you learn in the meantime, right? Or the passions that you find in the meantime. You know, I originally, when I was starting my original program, I thought, oh, I'm gonna want to work with businesses, and I'm gonna want, you know, to do it a certain way based on how I saw other people doing it. And as I got in there, I realized, no, I want to work with women one-on-one, and I want that's where I want my time to be spent. And so you find out those things in the process. And so I like that word, explore.
It's good.
Yes.
It's good. That's why I said I love having guests on here. You
Yes.
learn so many great things for people. It's, you know, and it's interesting because it's all really the same message. It's just some people say things differently, and sometimes you just receive it a little bit differently.
Exactly.
You know?
The way they articulate it and the way their story has been filtered in their own mind
Exactly.
is helpful. Yeah.
Exactly. So my other question I want to ask is, how do you define success?
Oh,
what does that look like for you?
What does success look like for me? I think that I would say in all of my endeavors, it's always looked like influence and impact.
I love it.
I think that's what it looks like at the end of the day.
Influence and impact. That's good.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's not so much did we get it done, but did we do something good with it?
It's making me think of John Maxwell, his levels of leadership that he talks about. You know how have you read his? I think it's Leadership. Yeah, Leadership 2.0 is one of the books I read, and he talks about these different levels of leadership that you go through, and the ultimate is to get on that top when you have the influence and the impact. That's when you can get people to actually make change.
Right. It's when you inspire people, right?
Exactly, and that's a hard place to get to. I mean, it's a transformation for people to get to that level, but when they get there, that's when they have the greatest impact. And so it's a good book. I think I've read it like a couple times, and I always love his stuff because it's a very short read. Like you can get through it fast.
I'll need to pick it up. I listen to his like leadership minutes and all that fun stuff. He's great.
He is. That's awesome. All right, so I want to ask you some fun rapid fire. These are actually my favorite part of the show. Not that I don't love the other part, but I find out some really good stuff in rapid fire.
Okay, let's see.
It's like off the cuff stuff. Okay. So, all right. So, are you a morning or a night person?
Neither.
Okay, you have to explain that.
I feel like I'm a 5 p.m. person. I feel like that's when I start to get going, you know?
That's funny.
It's like I have to ramp up and then I wind down,
I gotcha. All right. Cat or dog person?
Dog.
Dog. Do you have a dog?
We did.
You did? Uh-oh.
Yeah, I know.
Sorry. I hate asking that question when I hear that. Yeah. I would have to answer like and then some. I'm like, come on, we have lots of it. We have a lot of animals, like different kinds. We have dogs and cats, but a lot of others too. Yeah. All right. So what would you say is your favorite food?
I would say my favorite food is sushi.
I love sushi.
But just the California rolls.
Oh, you don't
not
like
the real sushi.
I think Chris is waving his hand back there at us. He must like sushi. Yeah. I like sashimi and sushi. I like all of it.
You like all of it?
Yeah, I could do all of it and a lot of it. I haven't had any in a while either. So we should not talk about it any longer. All right.
There's some on the way. You know, you can get some on the way home.
Exactly. So fun question. If you were on a deserted island, you have all your staples, you're eating all of that good stuff, what would be the one thing you'd have to have?
I would have to have my Bible.
That's good.
Yeah, I would have to. I don't think I could.
You did that good, too. You like to spit that off. I love it.
Yeah, well, I was going to say that in coffee. But you said we had our staples. So
yeah, you had your staples. Well, I did this one day, and the girl's like, Sarah Strackhouse was on my show, and she's like, can we have a person? It can be whatever you want.
Yeah.
A thing, whatever you want it to be. It's your thing. I always love that one because I just want to see what comes out. Like, what do you think of immediately?
Well, now I feel bad that I didn't include my husband or my boys, but yes.
People are there. We'll just assume they're there. We'll just assume they're there. We'll make it flow. Okay. All right. And if you could be any superhero or character for a day, what would you pick?
Oh, goodness. That's a good one. I'm going to give this answer. I want to be a lightness and darkness. I want to be light and darkness. So whoever is going to be, I don't know if there's like a starlight firefighter, some kind of.
I might try to morph something right now, like a Powerpuff Girl.
Yeah, like what? I don't know. Starbright. I don't know what it is, but something.
Starbright, wasn't that like
80s Rainbow Bright?
Yeah, wasn't that like a doll or Rainbow Bright? That's what it was. I'm like, she's Starbright. So that's so funny. One day I had a girl come on here and it was so cute. She's like, remember Xena, the warrior princess? Oh, yeah. Like, I had not had anybody say that. And I'm like, yes, I do remember that one. But we got a lot of really cool answers on the character one. I think it's so fun.
Yeah. And I think for women, too, it feels like a little bit harder to kind of find that character. But, yeah, I was even thinking Buffy the Vampire Slayer. But I like light in the darkness.
She can kick butt.
Yeah, she was light
so
in the
you
darkness.
can morph your own little Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Thank you. That sounds good.
You can make your own. All right. So I know you mentioned this at the beginning, but I want you to say it again. So if our listeners wanted to come check you out, where do we send them?
Go to AndreaCrum.com AndreaCrum.com or GenuinelyYouLeadership.com. And then also Instagram. That's where I have a lot of my leadership tips is Instagram. So you can just find me there.
All right. We'll make sure when this goes out, we'll put all the contact information, tag you, so everybody can check it out. So this has been so much fun.
So much fun.
Yeah, I love. We could sit here for a while. I know, because I could ask 100 questions, but I know you've got things to do and all that good stuff. So with that, I do want to say to our listeners, of course, if you love our show, please be sure you give us a rating both on Facebook and iTunes, because we can't do this without you, and hit the subscribe button on YouTube. And with that, I am going to leave you guys with a final thought. People often say that motivation doesn't last. Well, neither does bathing. That's why we recommend it daily. And that is by Zig Ziglar. All right. You guys take care, be safe, and be kind to one another. We'll see you next time.